This video is about how I got into Reiki. So Reiki, as you might know, is a style of Japanese energy healing. And I'll start with a story where it was the middle of winter in Alberta and it was cold, like minus 25 degrees Celsius cold, very cold. And it was snowing, and I was in the habit at the time, in grade 9 or 10, so around 14, 15 years old, I was in the habit of walking home from school. Regardless of the weather, I was tough and active, and I liked to walk, and so my walk was about 4 kilometers. It's about a half an hour walk, roughly. Usually it'd take me about a half an hour, and sometimes I would read books, or I would sing, or whistle, or whatever. I liked my walk, it was important. Think about things, stop at the library, get books. And this one day was so cold I felt like I couldn't make it all the way home. I needed a break somewhere. And I was trying to zigzag a new path home, so I wasn't taking the main trails. I was zigzagging through residential area, so I wasn't close to any shops. And I was just around houses. And so I figured, okay, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to look for some home that looks like I could go inside for a moment to warm up. Because I'm cold and I didn't really want to wait out any longer in the cold weather. I was cold. And what happened was I was walking and I see a shop. It's like a house turned into a store, and it says on the front lawn, the front snow pile says everyday miracles. So I'm like, these guys will let me in. And so I go in there, and I'm 14, I believe I'm 14 years old. And I knock on the door, and someone opens the door. And it's a 50-ish year old lady, short, blonde haired, a little bit of grays, kind sort of vibe. And behind her I can see the kitchen in the house. And to the other side there's the living room, and the living room's turned into a store. This is where they're offering their products. And right in front there's the kitchen, and there's these old ladies sitting around this table. And the ladies are sipping tea, and they're sharing stories, and and then suddenly they all look at me, and they're like, come in. And some come warm up, they make me tea, we start to chat. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting. And I'm still feeling pretty calm, I'm pretty social as it is. So I'm in their place, there's no one else in the shop, and eventually they start to show me around the shop. And when they do, there's tarot cards, and there's crystals, and there's healing pendulums, and there's color therapy, and there's aromas, and all sorts of books too. And I was like, wow, look at all these things. And I was a little bit weirded out. I was curious in all those things, but what weirded me out was how they seemed to want me to buy crystals, because I was fascinated with how beautiful they are. They were so pretty, all these different colors, and so I wanted to play with them and feel them, and they were explaining to me that each crystal has an energy, and each crystal has a purpose, a reason, a meaning. It has an aura and so on, and they were telling me it relates to chakras, which I was like, okay, I know what chakras are. But when they said that they recommended I purchase one to try it out, I felt something that was eventually, I would identify it, I felt a limiting belief. It was this idea that I'm too good to buy this crystal that would help me. Even if it did work, I didn't want to take that chance of opening up and receiving this value. It was kind of like, even if this does help, I can do it myself. I don't need a crystal to help me. So I didn't buy any crystal, and I didn't buy any crystals for 5 years. I kept coming back to the store to chat though, and to connect, because I did enjoy those people. However, 5 years later, a shop opened up close to my barber in my hometown, and it was called Sundra Healing. They're still there, to this day at least. And Sundra Healing has this very similar vibe as Everyday Miracles, with the crystals and the cards and the books and the healing medicines and herbs and smells and art and yogic things. And it's like that. It's a healing store, Eastern style mostly. And it was open for a whole year and a half, while I would go to my barber every month or two, and I didn't go one time. And eventually, for whatever reason, I had been looking at the store and then said, no, not today. No, not today. Over days and months and years. And then eventually one day I was like, okay, today I'm going in. So I go in there and I see the crystals for the first time that they have there. And I meet the owners and they're kind. Not very chatty people, but they're kind. They give hugs. And I say to the people, like, I'm gonna kind of feel the crystals. And Boyd, the owner, one of the owners there, he gave me this big blue crystal that was in the glass locked case. Something that was special and more. It's like $150 crystal, and it was like a sphere. And he gave me a meditation cushion and said, "Sit down with this and just breathe." And it spoke to me not with words but with emotion. It was incredibly grounding and calming. And I had felt something 5 years after going into that original crystal store that I never felt before, and I felt more open and responsive. And it just so happened that that store also taught Reiki, and I wasn't really interested particularly in Reiki because I knew, in my opinion, that a holistic practice of yoga is more effective than Reiki. I still believe that, but Reiki has its place, especially for people who are really in deep trauma, have trouble with the meditation, physically have a lot of limitations, maybe they're still recovering, maybe their yoga is a little bit too much or strange to them. There's reasons for it. But I didn't decide to sign up for their Reiki course. But what happened was I enjoyed their store so much, I kept referring my friends to go check it out. And one day, about a month and a half later, I came back and Boyd was telling me about the Reiki course. He told me you should sign up. And I said, well, I'm not too sure if I'm too interested in that. And he told me, well, you've referred so many people already to our store that you already paid for it several times over. So we'll offer it to you for free. And I thought, well, what the heck, I'll take it. So it was a weekend course and I learned more about Reiki and this energy healing style. Chakra cleansing, aura cleansing, and a little bit more of this Eastern philosophy that I knew from yoga already, and then I got this Japanese energy healing twist to it. Short time later, a couple months, I took another course in Vancouver, and the ball kept continuing to roll, and that takes me to the day where I still practice Reiki on myself, on others, and so on. So that's the story of how I got into Reiki.